In the dim corners of a rundown group home, 12-year-old Jamie often found himself enveloped in an oppressive silence, a shroud that weighed heavily on his heart. The peeling paint on the walls seemed to whisper of abandonment, while the distant sounds of laughter from other children felt like echoes from a vibrant world he could only dream of, a world where he belonged. Abandoned by his mother at a young age, Jamie had learned to navigate the harsh realities of loneliness, retreating into the depths of his own thoughts to escape the coldness around him. Each day melted into the next, a monotonous existence marked by isolation, but within the shadows of his heart, a flicker of hope remained, an ember waiting to ignite into something more. For months, Jamie had been saving every cent he could manage from odd jobs, nurturing a dream of escape. That dream took form one crisp autumn afternoon when he finally purchased an old rusted car for $750, a small fortune accumulated through endless chores and neat stacks of coins. The vehicle barely ran and stood in stark contrast to the sleek cars he saw in commercials. Yet for Jamie, it represented a chance, a possibility for change, a way to break free from the confines of the group home. With each stroke of the rag he used to clean it, Jamie felt a sense of rebellion rise within him, envisioning open roads and adventures far beyond the suffocating walls he knew too well. As he worked on the car, something unexpected happened. Jamie discovered a hidden compartment in the trunk. Heart racing, he pried it open and found an envelope stuffed with documents and a small tarnished key. The papers crinkled between his fingers, their edges worn, releasing a musty scent that filled his senses and stirred his curiosity. When he unfolded them, excitement surged through him. They detailed legal battles regarding a father he had never met, a once wealthy entrepreneur with a name that held significance he had never understood. Images of a man he could not recall flitted through his mind, and in that moment the threads of his identity began to intertwine, revealing a legacy he never knew existed. This discovery spurred a transformation within him, igniting a fire that had long been extinguished by neglect and longing. Jamie realized he no longer needed to be a passive observer in his own life. Now he could take charge, embarking on a quest to uncover the truth about a father he had lost before he could even know him. If you resonate with this ache in your heart, consider liking and subscribing. Someone else might need to hear this story today. With newfound determination, Jamie stood before the broken car, ready to delve into a journey that would not only unearth the past but reshape his understanding of family, belonging, and hope. To understand Jamie's journey, one must first grasp the weight of his past that hung over him like a thick fog, obscuring the light of possibility. Memories flooded through him, bittersweet and tinged with sorrow, each one a reminder of the love he had never truly known. His earliest recollections buzzed with the sounds of a different life, laughter shared at a kitchen table, the warmth of a mother's embrace, and the soft scent of cookies baking in the oven. Yet those memories began to fade, replaced by the cold, sterile environment of the group home. At 5 years old, Jamie was taken from the only home he'd ever known, thrust into the bustling halls of the orphanage. The noise, the chaos, the sense of being just another nameless child overshadowed him. He could still hear the echoing cries of other children, their desperate sobs clashing with the cheerful shouting of caregivers. Days turned into months, then years, each one stripping away pieces of his innocence. Jamie felt as if he were riding the waves of a storm, longing for a safe harbor that never came. Time trickled like sand through an hourglass, leaving him with fragments of a life that felt increasingly implausible. In the orphanage, Jamie formed bonds with a few other children, but those relationships always felt tenuous. Friends would come and go, leaving him grappling with the ache of abandonment yet again. He found solace in his books, where the pages transported him to worlds far removed from his own. The whir of the ceiling fan above his bed accompanied the smell of dust in the crowded room, a backdrop to his silent tears, which he cried frequently when the lights were out and no one could see his vulnerability. Then came the fateful day when he was placed with a foster family filled with optimism and hope for a new beginning. He arrived at their home, a charming cottage surrounded by a white picket fence, only to find that dreams sometimes usher in more heartbreak than joy. His foster parents had good intentions, but they were overwhelmed, struggling to manage their own lives alongside the broken pieces of a child they hardly knew. Jamie's presence felt like an afterthought, an extra burden, and slowly he realized that he was just a temporary fixture in their lives, a flickering light in the corner of their bustling home. Each time the family took him to the park, their laughter rang in stark contrast to the silence he felt inside, exacerbating his loneliness. He often found himself standing at the edge of the playground, watching other children run and play, their carefree laughter piercing through the walls he had built to shield himself from sorrow. He felt like an outsider, invisible even among those who should have been close. And though he deeply longed for connection, he had learned to wear a mask of indifference, hiding the pain that gnawed at his insides. As the sun dipped below the horizon, often painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, he recalled moments with his siblings, stolen fleeting memories of laughter and fleeting happiness shared before everything changed. They had been separated after their mother's abandonment, each sent to different homes while Jamie remained largely alone, the ghost of their bond echoing in the recesses of his heart. Those memories stung, fiercely reminding him of the warmth he missed, leaving a chill that sometimes felt unbearable. Despite the aching reminders of his past, Jamie held on to the belief that hope might still flourish within him, however minuscule it seemed. It flickered on days when he saw glimpses of laughter and kindness in unexpected places. He found joy in the little things. A kind word from a caregiver, a shared snack with a fellow resident, a warm bed waiting for him at the end of the day. Little by little, these moments started to stitch his internal wounds with fragile threads of connection, hinting that perhaps family could take on different forms. Now standing before the rusted car that had opened the door to his father's hidden past, Jamie felt a bubbling mixture of anger and sorrow rise within him. The documents in his hands were more than just legal papers. They were the scattered remnants of his life and family, pieces of a puzzle he desperately wanted to solve. The realization that his father had left something behind, some sign of love or regret, ignited a fire of determination within him. He couldn't change what had happened, but he could seek closure, understanding, and maybe even a connection to a legacy that had once felt so out of reach. As Jamie reflected on his journey, he recognized that each layer of his past, the neglect, the fleeting moments of connection, the search for belonging, had shaped him into who he was. In pursuing the truth about his father, he might finally confront the ghosts of his childhood, intertwining them with the hope of a brighter future. If there was anything he had learned from those dark years, it was that he was worthy of love and belonging, despite all the pain he had endured. With this newfound resolve, Jamie took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his past settle in his chest, yet instead of despair, he felt a rush of hope. He was ready to weave the threads of his father's story with his own, crafting a narrative that challenged abandonment and celebrated resilience. Jamie was not just a boy lost in silence. He was a boy on the brink of discovering his identity and embracing the possibility of love in all its forms. With each step forward, Jamie would reclaim his voice and write the next chapter of his life on his own terms. In the days that followed his discovery, Jamie found himself at a pivotal point in his life, filled with both anxiety and excitement as he prepared to delve deeper into his father's hidden past. The documents he carried felt heavy in his pocket, a mix of faded legal letters and family photos that hinted at the life he knew little about. Each piece stirred a quiet determination within him, compelling him to uncover the truth about the man he had yearned to know, the one who had left a void in his existence. One gray morning, Jamie decided he needed to take action. The address on the legal documents led him to a small house just a few miles from the group home, a place that may hold the key to his father's life and their unfinished story. The thought sent a mixture of apprehension and hopeful anticipation coursing through him. With a deep breath, he set out, the cool air brushing against his skin and filling him with a sense of urgency. As he approached the modest, worn-down house, it looked like it had weathered many storms, much like Jamie himself. Overgrown weeds curled around the porch, hinting at years of neglect. Still, something about the house resonated with him, as if it called to the missing parts of his identity. Summoning his courage, he stepped up and knocked on the door, his heart racing with uncertainty. Would he find answers or more questions? When the door creaked open, an elderly woman greeted him with warm, inviting eyes. "Can I help you, dear?" she asked, her voice gentle and soft. I'm looking for my father," Jamie managed to say, his stomach tightening with each word. "I found some papers that led me here." Recognition flickered across her face, and Jamie felt a wave of emotions wash over him. "You must be Jamie," she said, ushering him inside. "Come in." The living room was cozy and cluttered with family photos, each image capturing fleeting moments of happiness. Jamie's heart raced as he examined the faces that stared back at him. "I'm Mrs. Henderson," the woman said, her voice soothing. "I knew your father quite well. He never stopped talking about you." "Really?" Jamie's voice trembled, barely able to process the revelation. "He left me. How could he?" Mrs. Henderson sighed, her expression turning solemn. Your father faced a lot of challenges. He wrestled with personal demons and made choices that put distance between you. But he loved you deeply. He carried that love with him every single day. As Jamie absorbed her words, a mixture of sorrow and understanding washed over him. He felt an ache for a father he had never known, grappling with the loss not just of the man, but of the possibility of what could have been. Mrs. Henderson noticed the change in his demeanor and reached for a photograph resting on the table. With gentle hands, she placed it before him. It was a picture of a younger man beaming brightly, his arms wrapped around a small child who mirrored that joy. Jamie, in the days before everything changed. As Jamie gazed at the image, memories he had never lived seared through him, evoking feelings of a warmth he had always longed for. "Did he ever try to find me?" Jamie asked, the question a fragile whisper in the quiet room. "Your father searched for you," Mrs. Henderson replied, her eyes glistening with emotion. "He never stopped trying. Life sometimes complicates things in ways we can hardly predict. There were moments he felt like he lost the path, but his love for you never wavered." Tears welled in Jamie's eyes as the truth began to settle in his heart. The man he had mourned was more than a ghost. He was a father with struggles and regrets, a person who had a genuine love for his son. It was a bittersweet realization that filled him with tenderness. Taking a deep breath, Jamie felt the weight of his father's story settling into his own. He might not have a perfect family, but he carried the echoes of his father's love inside him. Leaving the house, he stepped out into the cool air with a newfound strength, knowing he could embrace that love as a part of his own journey. With each step away from the past, Jamie resolved to honor his father's memory, realizing that while he couldn't rewrite history, he could forge a path of his own. He was ready to build his identity from the pieces of love and loss, crafting a new narrative filled with hope and resilience. The lessons learned and the love discovered would guide him as he sought connection, belonging, and a future that didn't feel so lonely. Through the shadows of the past, Jamie finally caught a glimpse of the light, a beacon drawing him further into the story of who he was meant to become. The days that followed his visit with Mrs. Henderson were a whirlwind of emotions for Jamie. Armed with new knowledge about his father, he felt caught between two worlds, the joyful child in the photograph and the boy who had endured the loneliness of the orphanage and foster homes. Clarity began to blossom in his heart, but with it came questions that stirred a deep yearning for a reconciliation he didn't know how to achieve. He found himself lying awake at night, replaying every conversation in his head, trying to piece together the fragments of his father's story and how it intertwined with his own. Days turned into weeks, and Jamie's determination grew. With a sense of purpose fueling him, he returned to the library, a sanctuary where he could dive deeper into the life his father had lived. Each book he opened, each website he explored, gradually took him closer to the man behind the name, the father whose absence had shaped him. He learned about the successes and failures, the dreams that once ignited his father's spirit. They shared traits he had never recognized. His father's love for old cars that echoed Jamie's recent purchase, a passion for music that resonated through the very fibers of Jamie's being. One evening, as Jamie pored over the archives, he stumbled upon a newspaper clipping that sent tremors through him. It was an article about his father's company, a startup that had once been the talk of the town, highlighted for its innovative ideas. But right below the admiring words lay the stark truth, the company's downfall marked by unforeseen circumstances and poor decisions. The piece detailed his father's struggles that spiraled into overwhelming debt and personal battles. The implications were heavy. It became clear that grief and failure had woven through his father's life, culminating in a decision to step away. Jamie sat frozen, burdened yet enlightened. Suddenly, the narrative of abandonment shifted, washed in the complexities of life. It was not simply one-sided, but rather an intricate dance of choices made under pressure. Just as Jamie began to process this new information, Mrs. Henderson reached out to him again, suggesting a visit to his father's grave, a place he had never known. The idea struck Jamie with a mix of dread and anticipation. Should he really confront the man who had played such a significant role in shaping his journey, despite the physical distance? On the day of the visit, he could hardly contain the swirl of emotions that churned inside him. The sky was overcast, a mirror to his internal landscape. He felt small against the expansive landscape of the cemetery, each headstone standing like a guardian of stories untold. When he finally arrived at the grave, he was struck by the finality of it all, life and death connected yet so far apart. Kneeling before the headstone, Jamie placed his hand gently against the cold granite. "Dad," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I wish I could have known you." Tears streamed down his face as he struggled to vocalize the weight of his feelings: anger, grief, but most profoundly longing. He had spent so long wishing for the love of a father, the guidance that comes with it, and now all he had were remnants scattered across time. "Why didn't you come back for me?" he cried softly, the words escaping from a place of deep hurt. "I've been searching for answers." The quiet cemetery returned his words back to him, echoing in the silence, an offering of solace for the questions he held. Yet there was no response, just a gentle breeze that whispered through the leaves, wrapping around him like an embrace. After a long time lost in thought, Jamie began to feel a sense of release as he poured out his heart, recounting memories he had imagined, the laughter they would have shared, and the bonds they could have forged. As he sat on the cool grass, Jamie realized that while he could not change the past, he could certainly shape his future. The grief he carried would always be part of him, but it would not define him. Rejuvenated by this newfound perspective, he slowly stood up, feeling the heaviness in his chest begin to lift. Jamie placed a small stone on the grave, a gesture of respect and recognition, acknowledging that although his father was gone, their connection remained unbroken. With a final glance back at the headstone, he carried a piece of his father with him, a recognition of the complex love that existed despite their separation. Days turned to weeks, and Jamie returned to the group home with fresh resolve, ready to embrace the complexities of life. He wanted to share his findings with the others, to show them that even though their stories were fragmented, there were lessons embedded in every struggle. Jamie made it his mission to open conversations with other children about their parents, their fears, and their dreams. He even initiated small gatherings on weekends where they could share their thoughts, fostering an illuminating sense of connection among them. At night, he lay awake often, though now it was different. The darkness no longer pressed tightly against him. Instead, he embraced it as a canvas on which to paint the future. He envisioned a life filled with possibilities, where love could flourish among the seams of pain and healing. Jamie realized that he was the one capable of rewriting his narrative, crafting a life defined not by absence, but by acceptance, understanding, and compassion. As winter melted into spring, a sense of electricity filled the air. Jamie felt renewed. He often thought of his father, remembering him not just as a lost figure, but as a guiding light in his journey ahead. With the sunlight breaking through the clouds, Jamie embraced his past while holding on to dreams of a new horizon, a future alive with opportunities to forge connections, embrace love, and become the man he was meant to be. As he walked away from the group home one day, a wide smile broke across his face. He felt lighter, ready to face whatever life had in store. Jamie was at last a boy transformed, intertwining the threads of loss and love, the echoes of his father's existence guiding him toward a life filled with connection and purpose. He was prepared to write not only his story, but also to help others find their voices in a world that had once made them feel invisible. As the seasons turned and spring painted the world in vibrant colors, Jamie felt the transformative power of connection expanding within him. The weekly gatherings he had initiated at the group home blossomed into a sanctuary of support, where laughter and shared stories filled the air. Jamie was determined to show his friends that their fragmented narratives could weave together a beautiful tapestry of resilience and hope. On a sunny Saturday afternoon, Jamie stood before the circle of children, heart brimming with anticipation. "Today we honor our journeys," he declared, drawing shared smiles and nods from the group. "Let's celebrate every part of us, the pain and the joy, because it all matters." The room buzzed with excitement as each child prepared to share their story, their struggles punctuated by bursts of laughter and tears. Sarah, who often kept to herself, opened up about her estranged sister, her voice trembling as she recounted moments of happiness before their separation. Jamie listened intently, offering a comforting hand. "You're not alone, Sarah. We're here for you," he assured, and the warmth spread through the group like a healing balm. Each story that followed echoed Jamie's sentiment, creating a fragile web of understanding. As the days unfolded, Jamie poured his energy into nurturing not just their garden, but the very bonds they were cultivating. He organized outdoor art sessions, where the kids expressed their feelings through colors and creativity. They painted bright murals on pieces of canvas, symbols of their resilience and hope, each stroke a representation of their journey toward healing. Jamie could feel the collective spirit of the group lifting, each child finding solace in the shared experience of vulnerability. Then, as summer approached, Jamie dreamed up a family day, a celebration of everything they had built together over the past months. "We will create a day filled with love, food and laughter," he announced, his excitement contagious. The children began brainstorming ideas, and their enthusiasm sparked a flurry of activity, their imaginations running wild as they prepared for the big event. On the day of the celebration, the common area of the group home transformed into a vibrant scene of joy. Colorful streamers decorated the walls, and tables overflowed with homemade dishes from the children's kitchens. Jamie beamed as he watched his friends, each child proudly presenting a dish that reflected their background and embodiment of their stories. As laughter and chatter filled the air, Jamie gathered everyone around to share their thoughts. "Today is about celebrating us, all the beautiful, messy parts of our lives," he began, his heart swelling with love. "This day is a reminder that we are a family, no matter where we came from." Cheers erupted, and the children shared their experiences, weaving their tales into a rich narrative of resilience and connection. Jamie felt a deep sense of fulfillment as he saw the foundation of family they had built together, an unbreakable bond forged through heartbreak and healing. Later that day, Jamie found a quiet moment beneath the old oak tree that stood tall in their garden. He contemplated the journey he had taken, how the holes in his heart had filled with love and connection. His thoughts drifted to his father, and he felt grateful for the part of him that had begun to heal. As he gazed at the sky, painted with hues of orange and pink, he silently expressed his gratitude to the man who had unknowingly guided him toward this path. With summer days stretching ahead, Jamie envisioned much more beyond that moment. He began discussing plans with his friends to volunteer in the community, helping other children in need. "We can use our experiences to reach out and show others that they are not alone," he suggested, his eyes shining with passion. The group immediately responded with excitement, knowing that what they had found together could be shared beyond the walls of the group home. As they embarked on this new journey, their spirits soared, and Jamie felt a renewed sense of purpose. The experience of giving back was cathartic, transforming their pain into hope for others. They volunteered at local shelters, organized donation drives, and participated in community events, each activity igniting their hearts and reminding them that they were important and valued. One evening, as Jamie walked back to the group home after a day of volunteering, he reflected on everything that had happened. He was no longer just a boy shaped by abandonment and loss. He had become a beacon of hope for others. He felt the weight of his past lift as he embraced the future filled with possibilities. One day, as Jamie gathered the children after volunteering, he smiled and said, "We did something wonderful today, and it matters. We are changing lives, just as ours were changed." The children nodded, their faces lighted with pride. As he stood at the center of that circle, surrounded by newfound family members who shared stories, laughter, and love, Jamie realized that he had not only reclaimed his identity, but had created a larger narrative that encapsulated hope and compassion. Every struggle they faced, every moment of pain, was transformed into a lesson of resilience. In that moment, Jamie understood that love did not come from blood, but from the deep connections forged through shared experiences and unwavering support. With this truth resonating within him, he smiled at his friends, ready to face the world, knowing that they would continue to lift each other up. As the sun set behind the horizon, Jamie felt an overwhelming sense of peace settle in his heart. He had come so far, and though the journey was not over, he was excited for what lay ahead. If there was one thing he had learned, it was that every child needed to be heard, to know that they mattered. "Thank you for staying until the end," he thought, grateful for the path that had led him here. Sometimes all a child needs is to be loved and to know they are not alone. With that thought, Jamie stepped forward into a future bright with love, connection, and endless possibilities. As summer unfolded in vibrant hues across the neighborhood, Jamie embraced the warmth and energy that accompanied these longer days. The group home had transformed into a sanctuary, where laughter and shared moments became the heartbeat of their daily existence. Each child had found a unique role within their small community, and Jamie took pride in being a guiding force that encouraged them to explore their potential and voice their stories. One sunny afternoon, while they were gathered around the garden, Jamie's eyes lit up with inspiration. "What if we host a community event to share our journey with others?" he suggested. The idea hung in the air like a promise, capturing the attention of his friends. "We could invite everyone, families, neighbors, anyone who wants to know who we are. We can play games, have food, and share our stories." The children erupted in excitement, their imagination sparking wildly. Sarah suggested they create an art exhibit featuring their paintings, while Daniel proposed they invite local businesses to set up stalls. Each child contributed ideas, their enthusiasm palpable as they began to envision the event. Jamie felt an overwhelming sense of joy at seeing his friends rally around a common goal, united by a shared purpose. As preparations began, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. They spent hours planning logistics, crafting decorations, and even rehearsing how they would present their stories to guests. Jamie fanned the flames of enthusiasm, offering encouragement and reminders of how important their voices were. "This is our chance to show everyone that we matter," he exclaimed, igniting a fire of determination among them. Days turned into weeks, and the event day loomed ever closer. With each passing moment, Jamie oscillated between excitement and nervousness, feeling the weight of the responsibility to ensure everything went smoothly. He wanted this moment to encapsulate their journey, a celebration of their collective strength and resilience. Yet he worried about standing before a crowd and sharing the depths of his heart. What if they don't understand? The whisper teased at the back of his mind. On the morning of the event, the sun poured down in golden rays as the garden transformed into a colorful wonderland. Banners flapped in the warm breeze, and tables were laden with an array of homemade dishes contributed by the children. The sweet scent of baked goods mingled with the bright colors of flowers blooming around them, creating an inviting atmosphere. As guests began to arrive, Jamie watched a mix of familiar and unfamiliar faces enter the space. Families he had seen before, neighbors he'd waved to on the street, and curious newcomers all filled the garden, their collective presence both exhilarating and daunting. He took a deep breath, nervous energy tingling at his fingertips, but the gleeful chatter of his friends reassured him. This was not just his moment. It was a celebration of their journey together. Finally, Jamie stepped into the center of the gathering, palms sweaty but heart racing with determination. With a microphone in hand and his friends standing steadfast beside him, he announced, "Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here today to celebrate us. We are not just kids from the group home. We are a family. And today, we want to share our stories with you." As he spoke, Jamie felt the tension in his chest begin to dissipate. He shared how their lives had intertwined, how each child had found their voice within the supportive embrace of their makeshift family, and the love that had blossomed amidst challenges. "Together we have faced hardships and struggles, but we have also created a bond filled with joy, love, and support." With his voice growing stronger, Jamie invited his friends to join him in sharing their stories. One by one, they stepped forward, trepidation transforming into empowerment as they spoke about their individual paths. Their words wove a rich tapestry of experiences that captivated the audience. Sarah transformed from a shy girl into a confident storyteller, reflecting on her complicated relationship with her sister. Daniel spoke about his passion for music, how it had helped him process his emotions in moments of darkness. Each child's vulnerability ignited empathy and connection in the crowd as they realized that these children were not defined by their pasts, but by their courage. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, laughter filled the air, and the festivities continued. Games brought families together, and the smell of delicious food wafted through the garden, creating a festive atmosphere. Jamie moved through the crowd, beaming with pride. He watched as connections formed, parents chatted with the children, sharing smiles and stories, and a spirit of community enveloped them all. As twilight descended, Jamie gathered the children beneath the oak tree, their sanctuary of memories. Everyone felt the weight of the day settle into a warm glow of accomplishment. Jamie looked at his friends, their faces lit with joy, and spoke with a heart full of gratitude. "We did this together. We showed everyone what it means to be a family." That night, as Jamie lay in bed, his heart swooned with joy. They had not only celebrated their journey, but had broken down barriers, inviting the world to see them as they were, challenging stereotypes and filling hearts with hope. He had felt seen, valued, and heard, and in doing so, had given that gift to others. "Thank you for staying until the end," he thought as he drifted into slumber, reflecting on the day. Sometimes, all a child needs is to be loved and to know they are not alone. The future stretched before him, shimmering with promise, as Jamie closed his eyes, ready to step into whatever awaited him next. With love, connection, and endless possibilities ahead, he felt sure this was just the beginning of their beautiful story. As the days followed the uplifting event, Jamie felt a renewed sense of purpose and connection with his friends at the group home. The warmth of summer lingered, and it inspired fresh ideas about how they could deepen their ties to the community. One evening, as they gathered for dinner, Jamie proposed a plan that set the room abuzz with excitement. "What if we start an art club?" he suggested, a spark of enthusiasm in his voice. We could invite local artists to mentor us and create a space where we can share our stories through art. The response was immediate and electric. Sarah, who had just begun to find her voice, eagerly added, "We could have an art show at the community center." Daniel, his voice enthusiastic, proposed that they could even collaborate to create a mural that told their story. Jamie listened as the children excitedly bounced ideas off one another, feeling a swell of pride at their collective enthusiasm. Days turned into weeks, and the organizing began in earnest. Jamie reached out to local artists, sharing their dreams for the art club and inviting them to guide the kids. To his delight, many responded positively, eager to contribute their time and expertise. Each artist brought a unique flair, and Jamie sensed the excitement build among the children as they prepared for their first session. On the day of the art club's debut, nerves fluttered in Jamie's stomach. He arrived at the community center early, setting up supplies and ensuring everything was perfect. As children filed in, seeing the bright tables filled with paints, canvases, and brushes, their eyes sparkled with anticipation. They were ready to explore and express themselves, an opportunity for each child to showcase who they were without fear. During the first session, Jamie paired up with Ethan, a shy boy who had participated in the community event. Sitting beside Ethan, Jamie encouraged him to dream big with his art. "What do you want to paint?" he asked gently. Ethan hesitated but ultimately replied, "I want to paint my favorite memory, but I don't know how." "It's okay," Jamie reassured him. "Just let your feelings guide you. Start with what you see in your mind." As Ethan picked up his brush, Jamie felt a deep sense of responsibility and joy. Watching Ethan slowly translate his memories onto the canvas was heartwarming. Each stroke became not just paint but a vessel for his emotions. Over the following weeks, the art club blossomed into a vibrant community where laughter and creativity thrived. Children who had once felt invisible found their voices, gaining confidence through shared expressions. They held exhibitions to display their creations, inviting families and neighbors to see the beauty that emerged from their journeys. Jamie observed the transformations around him. A once timid girl became animated as she painted, and a boy who had often withdrawn found courage to share his dreams. It was a potent reminder that everyone could contribute something beautiful to the world, regardless of their past. One day, during an exhibition, Jamie stood in awe as families celebrated the children's artwork. Parents mingled, engaging with the kids, and friendships began to form among neighbors. Laughter rang through the air, intertwining with vibrant conversations. Jamie felt immense pride as he witnessed the connections they had fostered, their art building bridges in a community that once felt distant. That evening, Jamie gathered everyone under the oak tree, feeling the weight of their accomplishment fill him with warmth. "We've created a safe space together," he spoke, glancing around at smiling faces. "We showed everyone that we are more than our stories. We are artists, friends, and a family." As he connected with his friends, Jamie felt overwhelmed with gratitude. They were sculpting a new reality together. This journey, marked by art and community, had not only transformed how others perceived them, but had also revealed their true selves. Each passing day solidified their bond, while the impact of love and support permeated their lives. That night, as Jamie lay in bed, the glow of a lantern warmed the room, and he reflected on how far they had come. "Thank you for staying until the end," he thought, feeling the weight lift from his heart. Sometimes all a child needs is to be loved and to know they are not alone. Jamie closed his eyes, ready to dream of future adventures filled with love, creativity, and friendship, confident that they would continue to thrive as a family united through their art.